It's 6 o'clock, so we'll call the July meeting to order. Please make sure you turn off your cell phones or silence them. Get the roll call, please.
Ex officio Marthouse. Director Tozan.
Here.
Director Ramirez. Director Nutting. Director James.
Here.
Director Ertel.
Here.
Director Becker.
Here.
Secretary Sislo here. Treasurer Rayner.
Here.
Vice President Gillen.
Here.
President Knobloch.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Becker.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's the way it's written.
Okay, you ready?
Mr. President, I request approval of the minutes of 6/21/21. Actually, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Tozan seconds. Any comments or questions? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. The vote is unanimous. Okay, next, we need to approve or amend the meeting agenda. Anyone have anything?
So you want me to? I'd like to amend the agenda I'd like to amend the agenda under the regular agenda where it's 2021-30, motion to replace the fire suppression system. It should say the fire sprinkler system. And when we make the motion, I'll explain the difference.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
I'll second.
Ms. Rayner seconded. All in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Tozan is now, Mr. Ramirez is now here. So would you please make a note of that?
Yep.
Okay, we had a motion made to amend the agenda and seconded. Excuse me, Mr. Ramirez. Pull up. Would you like to explain that, Ms. Ertel?
The fire sprinkler system needs to be, the pendants that hang need to be replaced. The difference is the fire suppression system is actually in the kitchen, and it spits out a chemical for fires in the kitchen. It's two different things. We're replacing the sprinkler system in the clubhouse, not the fire suppression system in the kitchen.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I would make one. I wouldn't say that we are replacing the system. We are making the system up to spec so it works properly. We are not replacing the whole system.
Right.
It's the sprinkler heads that we're replacing, the pendants, the sprinkler heads.
Right. Okay, so we need a motion to actually amend the agenda now. Somebody want to make that?
I'll make the motion to amend the agenda.
Okay, Mr. James makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Gillen seconds. Any comments? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, we don't have any presentations tonight. We have a president's report that's a little shorter than usual. The additional furniture that we ordered in April for Latitude 30 has now been received by the trucking company, and it's somewhere between the trucking company's location and Diamondhead, unless it came in this afternoon. The installation of the acoustic soundboards in Latitude 30 was started this afternoon or this morning, and they were progressing as of 2 or 3 o'clock. They had more than half of them up. The annual inspection of the fire sprinklers in the club was recently completed, and as we mentioned, the sprinkler heads. They're a little over 20 years old because the clubhouse was rebuilt in 1999, or it opened in 1999. So it needs to meet to make it better up till today's codes. They also had, just to get more information on this, they had an inspection, regular inspection of the golf maintenance facility, and they suggested several safety improvements, so there'll be a motion tonight to deal with that. Latitude 30 in the Oak Room continue to see a lot of business, so we thank everyone for coming, making use of the club facilities. Encourage you to bring someone with you, a friend, the next time you come. The amount of rain lately has obviously reduced significantly play on the golf courses and on the tennis courts. I received 2 phone calls today from residents, one of them at 6:05 a.m., complaining that a developer wants to build 70-plus lots on a tract of land between, if you know where these are, Kula Drive, Iona, Kaiki, and behind what's often called Hidden Lake on Calipacona. There's a city planning and zoning meeting next Tuesday night, not tomorrow, next Tuesday night about that. That parcel of land was never platted in the past, has never been owned or had any kind of regulations by the POA. So I repeat, the POA has absolutely nothing to do with that land that's being proposed for the project. If you're interested in that, that meeting is next Tuesday at 6 p.m. in this room. I received an email just before I left today that you might find interesting. It was an email from a resident who suggested that instead of updating the fire sprinklers, it would be better to not do anything, and then if the clubhouse burned, collect the insurance money and build something smaller. Thank you. Okay, now we have the committee reports. Ms. Rayner, anything? Mr. Gillen?
No.
The Recreation Committee has not met.
Mr. Becker?
The Golf Committee met on July the 8th. Some of the things that were discussed were an upgrade to the vending machines in the halfway houses, which the general manager is working on, and I think some of that's already been completed. Tee assignments and availability during tournament play, having additional club-sponsored golf tournaments, people parking carts around the tees and the greens. It was recommended by the committee that everyone try to keep their carts on the cart paths next to the tees and the greens with all 4 wheels on the cart path. It's one of the only places our grass is not completely grown in, so it would make the course look better. And the golf committee would like to recommend to the board for consideration in the near future that we institute a program of stickers for golf carts that use the course cart paths that aren't playing golf or paid cart fees. The recommendation is that we charge $100 a year. We require those people to have insurance and sign a waiver saying they understand if they get hit with a golf ball while they're riding on golf cart paths that they are solely responsible. That's it.
Mr. Tozan?
I have nothing.
Ms. Hertel?
I have nothing. The House Committee did not meet in July.
Mr. Ramirez?
Okay, so the Grounds Committee did not meet, but the Safety Committee did, and several of the things that the Safety Committee discussed will come out of the report that I'm going to give in just a minute, so I'll leave that for later.
Okay. Mr. James? Anything?
No.
Okay, next we have the general manager's report. Mr. Abady?
Thank you. In your package this evening, I've provided a timeline as it relates to budgets for year 2022. And the timeline is self-explanatory. I'll point out 2 dates that reference a budget workshop that everyone in the Board of Directors would be welcome to participate. They're August 24th and September 28th. Budget workshops. Our goal and objective will be, an obligation, is to provide you with a completed budget prior to October 1st. Specific to the financials for the month of June and year to date, January through June, the variances show positive as it relates to the total departments. $63,466 for the month of June, and $1,684,000 positive variance year-to-date. And I point out that the year-to-date number, keep in mind, we had 2 significant transactions occur and settlements that were reported in the month of May, one being the People's Bank and the other being the payroll payment settlement that we didn't have to repay. The rest of the information in your package are the typical reports, which gives you a up-to-date on current usage of the amenities by our property owners and guests. It also provides an update on collections efforts, which is significant. Year-to-date, I think it's $189,000 through the collections efforts, and that's going very well. And we are pleased to see that the member dues payment percentage continues to be favorable as it relates to those who have the perception that covenants have expired. Gary mentioned a important part of the meeting this evening that deals with a recommendation to have the non-golf property owners who have golf carts register the golf carts and pay a fee. He pointed out the value of that. The other part of this would give the golf operation an opportunity to educate those individuals who may not be knowledgeable about golf or golf etiquette. It brings to mind years ago, I was involved with an operation, and we had a corporate outing. And we had 140 golf carts lined up. We had 36 holes of golf. And it was a shotgun start, which means everybody goes at one time. And as the groups left the staging area, I looked out over the 18th, and the volunteers had taken carts and drove right over the green. So obviously, I became a little upset. And I chased after them, and I caught them. And I said, "Do you realize what you've done?" And they said, "No, we don't." And I said, "Well, you've just driven over the green." They looked at me and they said, "What the hell? Everything's green out here." So you can't assume that people know the right thing to do. And I think it would be beneficial to everybody involved if we move forward with this plan and gave the golf operation an opportunity to educate the novice. I don't have anything else for the group, unless you have questions of me. Yes, Jerry?
Would you just give him a brief update on what Mr. Signage is, his problems he's having, getting us what we need for the floating docks?
He indicated in an email to me this afternoon that because we'll be working in the basin, that a waiver was granted or would be granted through the Mississippi Environmental Group, DMR. And he's struggling with getting bid sheets and information back from the Sullivan company that I believe he's leaning towards in terms of providing the product and do the installation. To be quite fair to this group and to others, I find it taking an extreme amount of time and a little bit frustrated with what's taken place or not taken place to this point. And Jason disclosed to me that he's not feeling well. I don't know what his condition is, but I pledged to this group to bird dog Jason a little closer in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any POA members' comments on agenda items? Mr. James?
No agenda item.
Okay, we didn't have any unfinished business, so we'll go to the regular agenda. We have motion 2021-30, a motion to replace the fire sprinklers at the club for a maximum of $65,000 to be taken out of the bank settlement fund. Anyone like to make that motion?
I make that motion.
Ms. Sertel makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Tozan seconds. Ms. Sertel?
Again, this has been an ongoing issue that they have not been brought up to code in several years. Like Ronnie pointed out, the whole system's not being replaced. It's the heads that you see hanging in the building, and it's not the suppression system for the kitchen, which is different. An inspection, Adam went through and inspected all the rest of the buildings, and I think everyone has seen that email, that the clubhouse is the only one with the fire sprinkler system. Unless anybody has any questions for me.
Excuse
No,
me, could I ask one quick question? Could you repeat the way you want this motion to read? Because I threw in the word sprinkler system pendants, but that's not correct, is it? Replace the fire sprinkler
Heads.
system heads or fire sprinkler heads?
Fire sprinkler system heads.
Okay, just want to read it
Get the
right.
whole thing
and
in there.
Make sure we all are talking the same language. Then at the club for a maximum of 2B. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any comments from
Yes,
Mr. Tozan?
Yes. I'd just like to point out that there is the need to maintain these sprinkler heads. Failure to maintain them would negate our insurance coverage. The idea of losing because of a fire and not having insurance doesn't set well with me. We do need to get it
It was
fixed.
not my suggestion.
He didn't write the email. Somebody sent the email to him.
If you're not familiar with the word pendant, if you're in the club and you look up at the ceiling, you see those little round disc-looking things. That's, I think, called the pendants. The sprinklers are right behind it, and if it overheats or whatever, then it pops that thing down and it activates it. So it's strictly for cosmetic purposes, honestly. The pendant part, I mean that little part. Also, do we have a wet system or a dry system? Somebody want to mention that?
It's a dry system, is activated to be wet once the air is released from the system and the water flows from the,
So there's no water in the pipes right now.
that's correct.
There's no water that can leak out of the ends of the sprinkler heads. Once it's set off, then there's a compressor or whatever.
The air that's being held in
The
the
air
system
pushes
blows.
it, and then the
It
water.
don't push it, it leaks and lets the water flow.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
Yes, when the people that did the testing, they selected 4 different, in the different areas, and 3 out of the 4 failed. And like Dennis pointed out, it's a dry system. Well, the system would have activated, but the heads would not. So we would have had 3 out of the 4 heads fail in the testing. And when they looked at the heads, one of them was a head that had been replaced in 2018. All the rest were from 1998. So this is an upgrade that's way beyond needing to be done.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
We didn't have inspections every year?
No, I don't believe so. Between different general managers and different facility managers,
Right.
it went through the cracks.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm not sure because I don't have the email in front of me. I thought that Adam did say that they were inspected every year.
Well, the ones I believe in the kitchen are.
Right.
Same thing with, at the gate are the ones in the kitchen there.
Okay.
But I know the fire extinguishers are every year. I mean, the
Right.
Diamondhead fire people come in and do the extinguishers.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I think what Ms. Rayner said is really true, that what happens, you change, every 2 years, you elect new officers, and 3 of the board members every 2 years, keep rotating on and off. So some people don't figure out what's going on until they're getting off. And that's not being negative, it's just just a regular
I-
thing.
I think what I'm trying to get to is how did we come up with the number of 65,000 max? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think we have a quote.
I have
I haven't seen the quotes.
something from Southern Fire Safety Systems. I was told that they went to, there are only 3 of these safety groups who do this in this area. 2 of them, one in Baton Rouge said they didn't want to send people this far to do it. The other one just never would respond. So this is the one that we have from Southern Fire Safety
Okay.
Systems.
There's another one in Mobile, it's firefighter, there's quite a few of them. So I was just wondering how we got to that number, that's all.
It was a bid that.
Okay,
It was a bid that Adam got.
okay.
And it says specifically, this quote includes the following scope of work: labor and materials to replace all the dry concealed pendants inside the clubhouse.
Is it possible I can get a copy of that?
Sure, I've written all over it, but
It's fine, I'd just like to see
it
it.
also excludes
Wasn't it
pre-existing
attached?
conditions or issues, all electrical work done by others. You love this one. Anything not listed in the above.
Yeah.
You
There's
had it
other
attached to this,
contractors.
didn't you, Nancy?
I did not attach it to
Oh, okay. That's why I thought it was attached to the thing that was sent out.
no.
No, it's not.
No.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I will make one comment, that it should be written in our procedures, anything that requires annual or biannual inspection should be in our procedures, regardless of any board change, then it rely upon the general manager and the managers to ensure that it's followed.
I have one more quick question, I'm sorry. Do we have any records of any prior inspections?
I'm under the assumption or the notion, Adam did write us an email and said since he's been on board, it's been inspected every year, so.
That's what I
He
thought.
did say that, so there should be some record of the past inspection
Okay.
that
I
we
just-
have.
Because this vendor, I don't know if they're the ones that are doing the inspections, you know what I mean? And, of course, they're gonna write their own ticket, so.
As
that's
far as
all
I
wanted to
know, as far as I know, this was the ones that actually did the inspection.
That's why I would take it somewhere else.
Well, we're caught also in the middle on this to an extent, because if we have to wait another month,
The people from Baton Rouge wouldn't even come over here, and then the other people wouldn't even respond to Adam. So, I mean,
I understand.
in the meantime, we don't, we need the clubhouse to be covered.
any other comments? Okay, we have a motion to replace the fire sprinklers at the club for a maximum of $65,000 to be taken out of the bank settlement fund. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, we have 7 yeas and 1 no. So it passes. Okay, the next motion is a motion to approve not to exceed $10,000 for safety items for the mechanic shop and the break room. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Ramirez makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hertel. Mr. Ramirez?
So Golf Safety came in and did an evaluation of they do inspections and evaluations of golf courses, and they do them monthly, annually, or whenever we call them to come in, or whenever whoever calls them to come in. They looked at the maintenance yard and the break room, and had some suggestions of things that we might want to do to bring things to the latest safety standards. As y'all know, over a period of time, things change, and so where we were or where we might need to be is not the exact same thing. So one of the things that they suggested, or there's several things that they suggested, and if you add all of this up, for $10,000, yes, we can get everything up to the latest and greatest. And so One of the things is like MSDS books. Everybody knows MSDS books are the material safety data sheets. That's where we can look at all the chemicals that we have. If somebody's going to use that chemical, you know what type of PPE that you have, or what that you need, and what you need to, if you get it in your eyes, you do this. If you get it on you, you do that. And we have those, and so they're just wanting to make sure that that is up to date. Keep in mind when says the break room, this is not updating the break room as far as getting new tables and chairs and that kind of stuff. It's taking care of the safety stuff that needs to be updated to the latest and greatest. Signage, one of the things they identified was signage. So for fire extinguishers, there should be a sign above it that says fire extinguisher with an arrow pointing down below. Because of the storms that we have coming through, the signs blow off. The sun gets on them and bleaches them out. You can't read them. They're not legible. So there's several of those that we need to replace. One of the things they suggested was storage pallets. We have pallets. We have drums sitting on pallets. These pallets are wooden pallets. Let me say that again. In an example, if one of those drums was to start leaking, it would get down into that pallet. That wood would absorb whatever chemical that is, and that's not what we want to happen. So we would these pallets that they're suggesting for us to get are not absorbable. They would not absorb the chemical that is in there, and so we're asking for 2 of those. Eye wash stations. Over a period of time, that requirement has changed, and so there needs to be a certain head on the safety shower that needs to be replaced. And so we're asking to replace that shower and replace the eye wash stations. The ones that you can buy, they last for 3 years. They have a 3-year shelf life, if you will. And so we need to get the ones that are past that time need to be replaced. So we get new ones, put them in place. And again, on that time frame of, when we need to do these things, put that on that list. 3 years from now, we replace those bottles and move on. But we need to keep them up to date. They don't need to be let expire.
Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Go ahead, Jerry.
I just had, I saw the list and the prices and everything. Who quoted those? Is that from more than one vendor?
So that was from Gulf Safety, and it was actually a lot of that stuff came. Well, if you look back through the list here, a lot of that stuff came from Grainger. There are some other people or other companies that have certain items on here that are not from Grainger, but there are a couple of different companies that list came from, that those numbers came from.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
The Msds Sheets.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't used Msds Sheets in years. It was changed to the Global Harmonized System a few years ago.
Okay.
Most SDS sheets, they're available online, so you just got to print them out, stick them in a sleeve. One of my concerns, and I'm all for safety, and thank you so much. I really appreciate the safety aspect of it. I've witnessed some things that I feel would reduce our risk as an organization. I like seeing people without goggles and things like that. I want that available to all the employees. My only issue, Grainger is one of the most expensive, okay? And you said Gulf Safety came here? Like, are you talking about the Gulf Safety Council?
Gulf Safety.
Gulf Safety.
Golf as in golf safety.
Okay. I can certainly recommend, I know all of them, to get safety gear and stuff like that to help out, but Grainger, it's a little expensive. So if we can consider getting other quotes.
Anyone else?
I would just like to say, it sounds like from Karen's discussion and what Lloyd said, we said not to exceed 10,000, but we could bring that down with good shopping, and I think that's going to be an important component ShopRite.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Just reference that you would be willing to help find the best price. We'll put together a list of what these items are in general terms, submitted to our
Absolutely.
citizens.
Okay, good idea.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments?
So with that being said, do we need to wait on approving the $10,000?
I think we can improve the $10,000, and then y'all can get together, and if you want to buy some from here and some from there, whatever.
Right.
Excuse me.
It's a not to exceed price.
Okay.
Right,
All right,
right.
okay.
I have no problem with that. I just want to get the best prices.
If you can
know,
find a
we
better price, that's great. I'm all for it.
Okay.
No, they,
We have a motion and a second. We have a vote.
We have a motion and we have a second, so now we'll vote. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Okay, it's a unanimous vote. So that passes. Do we have any POA member comments on non-agenda items?
Yes, we do. The first one is Darrell Pellegrin.
Mr. Pellegrin?
Need to make first one I had, you're taking $65,000 out from the bank settlement fund. What is the bank settlement fund, and what was it proposed to do?
I can give you a quick answer on that. That People's Bank settlement, we got a settlement for $1.125 million. After paying attorney fees, et cetera, we netted $875,000. We put it in a special account, so they can only be used for one-time funds, one-time expenditures, unless something crazy happens. So we're using it only for unbudgeted things that we didn't know anything about.
All right. Unless something crazy happens.
Well, I mean, if we have a storm or something, we have to use it, that kind of
All
thing.
right. Thank you.
Okay, second?
Second, we have Ronald Wenzel.
Can you tell us your name? I'm not sure exactly what he said.
It's Ronald Wenzel.
Thank you.
Okay. Some of the things you talked about, safety and the fire stuff and all that, there's a number of companies, because I worked in the oil field. I was an oil field engineer for 33 years, worked for INSCO, spent 24 years overseas. So I'm very educated in safety and fire protection and all that kind of stuff. I was over several rigs at the same time. I'm talking about millions of dollars of vessels that are moved all over the world. And I was responsible for the maintenance on all of them and also the payroll and the logistics of all of those rigs. And he made a good point over here, this fella here. I don't know your name, sir, on the end there. But he made a good point about having a record where we had what they call preventative maintenance program. You set the program up, and then that way what you do is you have a checklist and give everybody responsibility within your network, wherever it be, whether it be at the golf course or at the kitchen over there by the country club, and you give everybody responsibilities, and they have to check off and do these things. And then you also set up companies that do the surveys and do the repairs to come in and do their inspections on a regular basis, and that way nothing ever gets dropped. Then you don't have that problem which y'all have now with the fire systems. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I talked here a number of times before, and even at one of the city council meetings, was that some of the things that y'all can do for the golf courts. Now, what we've done, my family is involved at Ship Island. We run that business there. We've been doing that since 1926. And we have several golf carts that we use, and we found it very advantageous to rig them up with solar panels to actually charge the system up continually for 8, 9 years without changing the battery. I offered that to the people over there at the country club, and some of the guys, they laughed at me, but hey, y'all keep laughing, but y'all keep buying batteries, and I don't know where y'all dumping them or what are y'all doing with them, but it's costing you a lot of money.
Actually, our latest ones all have lithium batteries,
Yeah.
and they're guaranteed for 5 years or 7 years, something
8
like
years.
8 years,
Well,
and then
you
they
can-
trade them.
you
I understand your point.
You can even extend that way beyond the 8 years if you do it with solar. Solar charging is a trickle charge constantly. I got 3 batteries in my express boat sitting in my driveway. And that battery right now is 7 years old. I can go out there and crank it just like that and starts right up, no problem. I'm not buying batteries every year or 2 years.
And we appreciate what you said about having a checklist. I can just tell you, I think everybody up here would agree, when we came on a year ago, we asked for some things, and for whatever reasons, there wasn't a binder that we found right away that had everything that had to be done. And so we've been working on that, and Mr. Abity knows about it, so we're trying to make sure that whoever comes in behind us has at least a book or something, a 3-ring binder saying, do this, this, and this. Yes, ma'am.
Right, not to make excuses or anything like that, but we've gone through several general managers and a couple facilities managers, and so sometimes things get lost in
I believe
transition.
the gentleman who just spoke really said it well, that that's why we need these things. So we all agree. I don't think there's any questions about that. Anything else? Okay, well, does anybody make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. James makes a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Ms. Hertel seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is